It is good to be in God's house this morning. Amen. Just once again, a couple of reminders. Party with the pastors after service today. If you're new here today, or you've been coming for a couple of weeks, we would love to have you join us after service. Get a chance for you to know us better and us to get to know you a little bit better. We've got a gift for you. It'll be short and sweet, but we'd love to have you join us for that. And also today, I believe, is the deadline for Men's Summit. So if you're wanting to go for that or go to that, make sure you get signed up today. Let Scott know. It's going to be awesome. We're excited for it this year. And so today, we are starting our new series, and we're calling it Back to Sunday School. Now, yes, back to Sunday School. As I grew up in church. I grew up going to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. I did junior Bible quiz. I did senior Bible quiz. We went to Sunday school every single week. In fact, we were so hardcore Sunday school people goers. My mom was a Sunday school teacher, actually, for a period of time, and she's a little bit old school, and she's not here today. She's in Pennsylvania with her family, but I tell you all the time, my mom loved whipping my brother and I, right? You've heard this story? Like, oh, my mom actually spanked a kid one time in Sunday school. This was a long time ago, right? You couldn't get away with that today, but, she went to our pastor afterwards, like, Pastor, I resign. I'm sorry, we're leaving the church. I quit, and, I can't. The kid deserved it. I'm not going to get into what the kid did, but he absolutely 100% deserved it. But our pastor was like, you know what? I support you. I got your back, and walked her through it. But she did. She spanked a kid in Sunday school one time. But this is the thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is we've seen a lot of people coming in to our church, and they don't have the same background that I have of Sunday school and Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, junior Bible quiz, senior Bible quiz, Bible college. And there's a lot of people, we talk about things and they'll share like, hey, I didn't know that before. I didn't hear that. What are you talking about? Where can I find this? And so at times, for those of us who grew up in church, grew up in Sunday school, we know all the stories in the Bible. And so over the next several weeks, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to Sunday school, and we're going to learn about some of these stories, and we're going to talk about them because they're incredible stories, because we can read these stories over and over again. We've heard them since the time that we were little kids, and by the time we get old, we kind of take for granted the story of Samson, or David and Goliath, or Jonah and the great fish. We kind of take for granted how powerful and how impactful those stories can be. So that is what we're going to be doing over these next several weeks, is we're going back to Sunday school. And I would encourage you also, as we're talking about it, make sure, listen, I've shared with you guys before, and when we first came here 4.5 years ago, and we saw that this church still did Sunday school. Katie and I had that conversation of we're probably going to have to, that's going to be fun when we have to chop this program, because most churches in the country, around the world, Sunday school is not very good. It's dead. Nobody shows up, or they've cut it out. And I was so impressed with how healthy our Sunday school programs are. And so I would highly encourage you, if you're not in Sunday school, if you're not going somewhere, start coming on Sunday mornings and get some breakfast and learn from we have great teachers that can share really what's in that. It's a great time to really dig in to what the Word of God says. Now, I will also say one other disclaimer. This whole entire series there's going to be parts and aspects to this that is going to be different. I'm kind of, at times, I'm going to be kind of reverting back to my roots of kids ministry and youth ministry, because let's be honest, once we get to be a certain point, we come around and we talk and we share these stories, and sometimes, as adults, we kind of do it in a boring way. We just read the Bible and we just say, and then David did this and Samson did that. And when you're in kids' church and when you're in kid men and youth ministry, you can tell stories you tell them in a way that's fun, and there's actions and there is all sorts of things, right? And so that is what I want to do, is I want to bring to life these stories over the next several weeks. We're going to talk about a lot of the things. We're going to talk about how, Father Abraham had many sons. There you go. And many sons had Father Abraham, right? We're going to get into these stories, and today we're going to start with arguably the most famous story in the Bible. We're going to talk about, probably maybe the best known story. It's the story of David and Goliath. The year is 1012 BC, and you have the Philistines and the Israelites. They're at war again. there's a couple things in the Old Testament when you read, there's two things that you can really count on. Israel is going to rebel against God, turn away from God, and they're going to walk away from God, and God is going to send a punishment to them, and they're going to return back to God. That's the first thing you can count on. The second thing that you can count on is the Israelites are going to be at war with the Philistines. They're always at war with them. But this time, it's a little bit different. You have the Israelite army on one side, and you have the Philistine army on the other side. But the Philistine army, they have a guy by the name of Goliath. Now, Goliath is a 9-foot plus tall giant. He is a huge individual. He's also a champion fighter. So he's not only huge, he's really, really good at killing people. He is probably the best person alive at that point at killing people. And so every single day, Goliath would come out onto the battlefield, and he would start taunting the Israelites. He would start making fun of them, calling them names. He would defy their gods. And basically, he's like, hey, let's save a whole bunch of people being killed here. And why don't, I'm going to fight. I'm out here. You send your best fighter to come fight me. And we will go one-on-one. And whoever wins the one-on-one combat, that side wins this war. Every single day he would do that. And every single day, all the army of Israel, they would just stand there because they were scared of this giant. Every single day they had to deal with it. Well, this goes on for a period of time, and there's a man by the name of Jesse. He has several sons, and his older sons, they are fighting for the Israelites. He is fighting in that war, but he has a young son named David. He's not old enough yet to fight in this battle, and so he is at home. He's watching sheep, and his father sends for him one day and says, David, I need you to take some supplies to your brothers. I need you to go to this battle and find out how we're doing, how the fight is going, and give your brothers these supplies, and then come back and give me a report. So David says, all right, Dad, I'll do it. So he loads up the cart, and he travels to wherever they're fighting at, and he gets there, and as he's walking up, he can hear Goliath down in this valley, down in this fighting valley, and he is doing the same thing he does every day. Basically, y'all a bunch of scaredy cats, come fight me, one-on-one. You guys are a bunch of dogs. You serve a false god. He is this and all these things. And David hears this, and he's like, this is not right. Like, this is not a good thing. And so he walks. He finds one of his brothers named Eliab. He's like, Eliab, what's going on here? And Eliab tells him what's happening, and he's like, somebody should go and fight him. And they're like, yeah, nobody's going to do that. He's like, well, why not? And he starts asking. And finally he says, you know what? I will go and fight this guy myself. Keep in mind, David is about 15 years old. He's like, do you remember Garrett at 15? Remember how he weighed like 110 pounds soaking wet? That's kind of what David was like, all right? Probably shorter, though, than Garrett was, right? And so he's a small individual, and this is a giant man. And he's like, I will go and fight him. Y'all a bunch of scaredy cats. I will go and do it. And people are like, no, you can't. Like, he will literally, eat your bones for breakfast. Like, he will kill you in 2 seconds. And he's like, no, somebody's got to go and do it. I will go do it. He's mocking our God. He's mocking our king. He's mocking us as a country. Like, for God and country, I'm going to go kill this giant. And his brother is right there, and his brother probably has a little bit of conviction, right? Because his little brother is willing to go and fight, and he wasn't, and a little bit of jealousy. And so he tells David, he's like, you're just a little boy. I know how wicked and conceited you are and how, envious you are. Like, no, you're terrible. He's like, no, I'm not. Leave me alone. I'm going to go fight the giant. So he finally convinces the people, let me go and fight this giant. So they take him to the king of Israel, and his name is Saul. And he says, King Saul, I want to go and fight this giant. I want to go kill him for you, for God. Like, let's go do it. And King Saul's like, nah, bro, can't let you do it. Like, you're going to lose your head if you go and do it. And David says, no, I want to go and do it. I can do this. I need you to trust me. I need you to let me do this. And he's saying, listen, I've had these things before. I've fought some impossible odds before. He's like, there was one time a lion came and tried to attack my sheep, and I killed the lion. One time I killed a bear who was doing the same. Like, I've got a slingshot, like I'm ready to go. Basically what David is trying to tell King Saul is, all your fighters are cowards. They're scaredy cats. Let's end this. And he basically says, you know what? You've got a problem. I'll solve it. Check out this slingshot when I rock it. Only the real ones know that one. Side note, I don't know if I don't know that I've ever been more proud of a line that I've ever written in a sermon in 22 years of doing this. And if you don't get it, just know that you are an extremely blessed individual to hear that from me this morning, okay? That was a work of art. I was so excited Anyway, back on track. Verse 34 of this story is found in 1 Samuel 17. So you can read that there, but this is what David said to Saul. He said, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." At this point, Saul's like, listen, if you want to die, go ahead. Like, I'm going to let you go out there and do it. Like, here's my armor, here's my tunic, here's my shield, here's my sword, here's all this stuff that you need to go and fight this giant. And so David, he puts all of this stuff on, right? He's getting ready to go out, and he tries all this stuff on. He realizes this is way too big, it's way too bulky, it's not going to work. Like, I can't do this. And he's like, so he takes all of it off. He's like, listen, I can't use that, but what I do have, I have a shepherd's staff, I have a slingshot, and I have a shepherd's bag. And so this is kind of, I bought a slingshot this week, because this is not the kind of slingshot, right, that we think of, right? You pull it back. This is the kind of thing that it would do, you would, right? And you would let it fly, whatever you're going at. It's hard to do, right? You almost smack yourself in the face when you do this. He said, listen, I've got all of these things. Let me go and handle it myself. Let me go and do what I know best. And he said, this has worked for me in the past. I killed a lion, I killed a bear, and it'll work for me again. So David walks out onto the battlefield with no armor, with a slingshot, with a shepherd's staff, with a shepherd's pouch, and he stops at this creek, and he picks up 5 smooth stones from the creek, and he steps out onto the battlefield. And as he steps out onto the battlefield, the giant, Goliath, notices him. And he turns, and he sees this 15-year-old, scrawny little boy is the person that Israel has sent out to fight him. And basically what happens is Goliath just like, what? Like, what am I, a dog? That's what he says. What am I, a dog that you send this little boy out here to fight me? Like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to feed his body to the birds, right? His flesh to the birds and wild animals. Basically, like, I'm going to eat his bones for breakfast, right? Like, this is my opinion of what Goliath would have said, but probably something like, listen, I'm going to take this man's femur bone and I'm going to pick my teeth with it. I am Goliath. Like, and you're a little shepherd boy. And David, like, he's kind of, at this point, like, it's real, right? The giant is just a few feet away from him, and this is what he says to him, right? Because David, at this point, the giant is right there. He has either fight, flight, or freeze. And David chooses to fight. And this is what he says in verse 45. He says, this is little shepherd boy to giant champion fighter Goliath. Says, "You come against me with a sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is his, and he will give you all into my hands." Pretty good smack talk for a 15-year-old. You said you're going to feed my body to the birds. Well, I'm going to kill everybody in this whole army, and we're going to feed it to the birds. Right? This is impressive smack talk from David, but it's real. And now he's got a choice. Now he's really has committed to what comes next. And he says the battle is God's battle, and he is going to deliver all of you into my hands. And at this point, Goliath starts walking towards David, and David reaches into his bag, puts a rock in his slingshot, and he's ready to go. So he starts swinging it, right? And then he gets a little bit closer, and he lets it fly. And the stone is flying through the air. And this had to have been in slow motion, right? Had to have been. Like, I hope this is a good shot, because otherwise I'm in trouble. So the rock is flying through the air. and it hits Goliath right in the forehead. And once again, this is my interpretation of what happened. Is Goliath like, uh-oh, and just falls over dead. And David runs over, picks up this giant's sword, cuts his head off with his own sword, and all the people of Israel over here are like, yes! And all the Philistines are like, no! We're in trouble. And at that point, all the Israelite army, they get courage because the giant is dead, and they chase after the Philistine army, and that day they win a complete and decisive and total victory. This is a great story. It's one of the best-known stories in the Bible. And honestly, we could spend weeks just on this story. We could talk about how God cares about your heart and your character and not about your outward abilities, right? Because everybody else looks on the outside. God knows what's in your heart, and that's what God cares about. We could talk about that. We could talk about how the jealousy of David's brothers are a problem for him and how there will always be people who are trying to mock from the sidelines, but they aren't willing to do the work themselves. We could talk about God provides even during our most testing of trials. We could talk about how to be prepared when we know that God is calling us to do something. David grabbed 5 stones on his way to kill Goliath. And people will be like, there's some theologians like, well, Goliath had 4 brothers, and so he bought a stone for every single one of them, right? Like David was like Doc Holliday and Tombstone's like, right? I got 2 guns, 1 for each of you, right? He could have been like that, but I think David was like, what if I miss? If I miss, I'm going to have some reloads, right? I think that's probably right. Like, but then again, it probably was like, John Wayne in the Searchers when like, what if you'd miss? He's like, the thought never occurred to me, right? It could have been one of those kind of things. We could talk about how to be prepared when God calls you to do something. We could talk about so many things, but what I'm going to drill down on this morning is verses 38 through 40. Saul has agreed to let David fight, and this is what we read. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of the shepherd's bag, and with the sling in his hand approached the Philistine. That is what I want to focus on this morning. David volunteers for a job that nobody else wanted. Not even King Saul. King Saul, keep in mind that the Bible describes King Saul as a head taller than anybody else in the nation of Israel. So King Saul himself is probably 7.5 feet tall. He's one of the tallest humans on the planet. He is a large man. He is a giant in his own right, which is 7 feet is still small compared to 9. But either way, nobody wants to fight him. But they do want to tell David how to fight. We're not going to fight, but let me tell you how you should do it. They try to put David in their box, make him fight in their armor, do it how we would do it. Now, thinking about this, I need a couple volunteers. I need Zach and I need Aiden to come up. I figured this is going to be, to understand fully what I'm trying to get in, what we're going to be talking about this morning, I need Goliath and I need David, okay? But also, listen, it's 2025. We don't have armor anymore, right? We don't, who carries, maybe you do. Maybe that's cool if you do. I want to come see it. But, so while we don't have normal traditional armor, what we do have is as a deer hunter, we have armor against the deer. We have camouflage. So I asked Goliath, bring some armor for us this morning, and we're going to put it on David, okay? So this is Zach's clothes. Come here, Aiden. Let me see. You got to put this stuff on here. Good luck. All right, here, come stand over here. People can see you. Come on, you got to stand over here. Everybody can see him. All right, go ahead. Put those pants on. This is the king's armor. We are on a time crunch here, bud. It's all right. Take your time. When we get out, we don't beat the Baptists to the buffet today. It's Aiden's fault. It's not mine, okay? Okay, here, all right, now put this jacket on. Okay. Don't forget you need a helmet. Here, we'll put this on you. Here, let's make it giant size. Oh, it's a pretty big size head already. We need one more thing. Hold up. You got the king's armor. Now you need the king's sword. Okay, it's the best I could do. It's all I could find, okay? There you go. There's your sword. Now, also, he has got a shield with him as well, all of these things. Now, here's my man Goliath over here. And I don't know if you know this about Zach. Zach can bench press like 340 pounds. Like, he's the closest thing we have to Goliath in this church, okay? And so, here's the fight. Now, how do you think if David starts running around in this kind of armor, run around a little bit. So, where's the pan? Yeah, see, look at it. He's, at some point, listen, I did this for Arrow's school on Friday because I preached at her chapel, and some little boy, like, he took the 2 steps and, like, went down to his feet and was, like, falling over. I'm like, oh, I'm never going to get invited back. But anyway, it was fine. Now, if these two are to fight, and David is using his own armor, what is going to happen? When they get close, come here, guys. Come here like you're going to fight. Like, at some point, he is going to fall over. His is going to get caught up in his head, right? His armor is going to fall down. Like the sword, he's going to have to use 2 hands, right, to use it, and he's going to try to lift it up. Goliath is going to chop his head off in no time. There's no way a little bitty boy, Goliath's armor weighed 125 pounds. Goliath did. Now, Saul wasn't as big, but you can kind of guess that his armor maybe weighed 60, 80 pounds. David maybe weighs 110 pounds soaking wet. How is that going to work? It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. David is going to get killed quickly, right? This is why Goliath would have had, especially if he'd come lumbering out, Goliath's response of, I'm going to eat your bones for breakfast, would have been so good. Right? Because it would have been so true. Because there's no way this little boy wearing armor that's way too big for him, right? There is no way he is going to beat a 9-foot-tall champion fighter. Is there? No shot. Thank you, guys. You can go sit down. I guess I got to wait on Aiden again. Take your Everybody's just looking at you. Don't worry. I got to buy some time. But yes, give him some hand. That was top-class acting right there. There's no way that David is going to beat Goliath wearing somebody else's armor. There's no shot. And David says, I can't go on that. That is the one point that I want to have for you guys, that I have for you guys this morning, is that be who God has called you to be. That's what David learned in this lesson, is to be who God has called him to be. Sometimes we follow the advice of people sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything. People they haven't done anything for the kingdom in decades, and yet they're going to tell us how we should be doing what we're trying to do. Or we see someone else who is successful, and we try to copy and paste what they do. Listen, that's a huge temptation for me as a pastor. I see another church, and I see how something works for them. It's like, we're going to do that. And here's the thing, what works for them may not work for us. And so I've had to learn that over the years, is that I can get ideas from other people, but I can't just copy and paste what they're doing and expect it to work in our context and with my strengths and my giftings. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watching Cardinals baseball, right? And there was a guy, probably only one person in this room will know who he is, well, 2, Bob and Beverly. Remember Jose Oquendo? Oh, yeah. Jose Oquendo was the man, right? He wasn't a great ball player, but he's the kind of guy that everybody would want on their team. But Jose Oquendo, when he batted, he would step off like this. I mean, he had a terrible, open batting stance. And I remember as a kid, like, that's cool. I'm going to bat like that. I'm going to do it exactly like Jose Oquendo does. Do you know how that turned out for me? I'm here, not in the majors. That's just kind of tells you how it was. I went into one of the worst slumps of my entire life because I was trying to copy what somebody else was doing. David understood something that most of us truly don't understand. When you try to live in someone else's calling, it won't fit. David is about to face Goliath, the biggest challenge of his life, and King Saul offers him the royal armor. It sounds like a good idea, except for it doesn't fit. It's heavy, it's awkward. It wasn't made for him. And David has a choice to make. Do I fight like Saul, or do I fight like David? Each one of us have a unique and different calling in our life. My calling is my calling. Your calling is your calling. My strengths are my strengths. Your strengths are your strengths. And what makes it great is when all of us get together and we combine my strength and Bev's strengths and Pastor Regina's strengths and Nathan's strengths. We combine all of them together. That's when we can do something special. But if we're all trying to be like me, we're all trying to be like Pastor Katie, we're all trying to be like whoever, we're all doing the exact same things, we are going to fail because we're trying to be like somebody else. Together we can make an impact, but if we were trying to do what somebody else does, we are going to struggle. We are going to find ourselves in a place of struggle, exhaustion, and ineffectiveness. We're going to find ourselves defeated. Was Saul's armor bad? No. I mean, it's fit for a king. It was the best piece of armor in Israel that money could buy. It is the best. It's for the king. And it's one of the best pieces of armor in the entire world. It was meant for a king. Saul's armor wasn't bad. It's just that it wasn't David's armor. Sometimes, hear me, right? And if you didn't get one this morning, we put those little notebooks in the back to school. We get back to school notebooks, right? They're kind of playing on that theme. Pick one up on the way out and write this down, or if you've got it, write it down. Sometimes the biggest threat to your future, to your calling, is not the devil. I know it's like the devil made me do it. No, sometimes the biggest threat isn't from the devil. It's trying to do something that wasn't meant for you. I'm trying to do what God didn't call me to do it, and I'm finding myself struggling and upset and exhausted and frustrated, so I'm going to quit. That's not the devil. That's you trying to operate outside of your strengths, outside of your calling, outside of what God has called you to do. You guys know who Allen Iverson is? Hall of Fame point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, MVP, right? He had his first shoes, the Questions, are some of the best basketball shoes ever made. He's Hall of Famer. He's an all-time basketball player. And he said this. I heard him say this a long time ago. It says, be you. God created you to be you. It's disrespectful to want to be someone else. Now, he is taking that in the context of a basketball player. If that is true as a basketball player, how much more true is it as a follower of the King, as somebody who is trying to do a mission for God, that we're trying to act like somebody else? God made me to be me. God did not make me to be you. He did not make you to be like me. David tries on the armor and has a very strong moment of clarity. This is not going to work for me. So he does something drastic and he takes it off. The armor and the equipment made for a king, the best armor that money could buy in all of Israel. He takes all of that off, and instead he picks up a staff, picks up a slingshot. Why? Because I've already killed a lion. I've already killed a bear. God has already used me multiple times with these things. So God called him to protect his sheep with a staff and with a slingshot. And now God is calling him to protect the army of Israel. So he's going to use what he knows. For years, God has been preparing David for this moment. His brother says that he has a few sheep out in the wilderness. David is by himself with only sheep around him. Nothing, no video games, no YouTube, no phones, nothing. And how do you fight boredom when you've got nothing going on? You take your slingshot, you pick up a rock, and you throw it at the tree, right? You throw it at the tree, and then you walk over, and you pick up the rock, put it in your slingshot, and you sling it back at the tree. And you do this hundreds and thousands of times because you're just trying to pass boredom. But God is equipping you and strengthening you. He's placed you in this position. So guess what? When the bear shows up, my slingshot. When the lion shows up, got my slingshot. When Goliath shows up, I've got my slingshot. God has been preparing me for this moment for my entire life. David trusted what God had placed in his hands years ago. He didn't try to swap it out for something shiny and new. He held on to what he knew. He didn't try to become someone or something that he wasn't. And too many of us, we're like, okay, God, use me. And when God begins to use us, like, well, these are my talents, these are my skills, this is what I know. Let me get rid of all of that and try what this person over here is doing. Let me try what that person is doing. Quit trying to be someone you're not. Quit trying to be something God has not called you to be. Stop obsessing over someone else's sword and start thanking God for the slingshot that he gave you. We see other people's gifts, we see their swords, and we think, man, if I had their sword, I could do some things for the kingdom. Right? I've fallen in. I listen to other preachers. I'm like, man, if I could preach like they could, we'd be good, right? If our church had that church's resources, then we would be good. And that's what we think as well. It's like, if I just had what they had, then I could really do something powerful for the king. And here's the truth. No, you wouldn't. You absolutely would not. If you are not willing to use your sling, you definitely won't use the sword. God did not make a mistake when He gave you your gifts or your mission. He gave you all the tools you need to accomplish His purposes. You just refuse to practice with them when no one is watching but a few sheep and some grass. All right, God, you gave me the slingshot, but nobody's here to watch me sling it, so I'm not going to do it. Right? God, I need a platform. I need followers on Instagram. I need subscribers on YouTube. Then I'll do something. No, you won't. David leaned into his identity. He chose to be who God called him to be. David might have looked cool with a sword and a helmet and a shield, right? He would walk down on that battlefield and be like, David's looking good. He looks the part. But what would have happened is it would not have helped him win. In fact, it would have gotten him killed. But David, instead of doing that, instead of choosing the flash, he chose to have faith that if God has called him to do this, God would show up and help him win. Every other person in the Israelite army had the exact same things: armor, shield, sword, helmet. Right? That's what this is: battle-tested, battle-ready equipment. Here you go. You're going out to war. Here's the same thing. And every single one of them had the exact same thing. And yet no one with that equipment actually had the guts to step out onto the battlefield with it, which tells us it's not about the equipment. It's all about the equipper. It's not about our equipment. It's not about what we have or the flashy things. It is about what God has given you. One last kind of mini point before we close. When David decided to step out and fight Goliath, everyone laughed. Everyone thought he was crazy. They thought he was going to die. Saul told him that there's no way he could go out and let him get killed. His brother, in verse 28, accuses him of being wicked and conceited. He tries to belittle him by saying, who's taking care of those few sheep of yours out in the wilderness? Everybody laughs. Everybody has an opinion, yet no one is fighting. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a story. Everyone had an accusation, yet no one had any action. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful when you are facing off with a giant, when you are doing what God has called you to do, when you are on mission. You will have people on the sidelines who are too scared to fight for themselves. They will criticize. They will offer opinions of how you should fight. They will tell you what to wear and what to fight with. Don't listen to them. Don't let the person watching tell you how to act. Don't let their criticism impede your progress. Refuse to listen to people who won't engage. If that person is not willing to engage and link up and go to war with you, don't listen to their opinion because they are on the sidelines, scared or unable to actually move. Listen to people. Surround yourself with people like, we're going to go fight Goliath? All right, let's go do it. You grab your slingshot. I'm going to grab my staff. I'm going to grab mine. And together we can go and do this. Be who God has called you to be. Fight with what God has given you. Carry on the mission that God has given you. Don't try to be something that you're not. Worship team, you guys can come on up. When David stood on that battlefield, he faced more than just Goliath. He had to overcome the doubts of his family, the fear of the king, the lies of the enemy, and even the temptation to wear somebody else's armor that wasn't his. But in the end, David made a choice. He trusted God. He stayed true to who God made him to be, and he used what God had already placed in his hand years ago. And that's the same choice that we have to make as well. There will always be voices in our head trying to get us to put on the wrong armor, trying to put the wrong armor on us. There will always be giants there to intimidate us. There will always be people who misunderstand you or discourage you. But your victory is not in being somebody else. It's in being faithful to who God has called you to be. If you want to fight the good fight, if you want to win the battle, be who God has called you to be. Don't try to wear somebody else's armor because it's big and cumbersome and it's going to get you killed. Be you. Will you stand with me? You don't need Saul's armor. You don't need someone else's sword. You don't need to copy their calling. You already have everything that you need because you have a God who wants to fight for you and with you. So take off all the things that don't fit. Pick up the stones that God has already placed in your hand. Step forward in faith and watch what happens when you face giants with God leading the way and you working in your calling. Because the world doesn't need another Saul. The world doesn't need another David. The world needs Jonathan Presley. The world needs Nick Keener. The world needs Megan Cox. They need all of us to be who God has called us to be. And together, that is when we will make an impact. The world needs you walking boldly in the calling that God has given you, with the strengths that He has given you. The slingshot, it might not seem like much, but in the right hands, it will kill a giant. Here's the thing. You don't have to be a giant to beat a giant. You don't have to, like, oh, if only I was bigger, if only I was stronger, if only I had more talents, if only I could talk like this or sing like that. No, that's not your calling. God has given you a slingshot for a reason, because He knows He can trust you with this. And in the right hands, this will absolutely kill giants. Don't belittle the slingshot. Don't be like, I don't want that. No, stop in the creek, pick up the rocks, put them in your pouch, and start slinging them. Because when you start slinging rocks out from your slingshot, you will win way more victories in battles, because you are working in the calling that God has for you. You don't have to wear somebody else's armor. Be you. Be who God has called you to be. If you do, if we do, if we will all join together in our collective strengths and put it together, man. You know why I believe that the best is yet to come? For a multitude of reasons. I believe that Jesus is going to come back one day, and when He comes back, best day ever, right? We can all agree. When Jesus, that's going to be the best day ever. But also the best is yet to come, because as we grow, and as we grow, not just numerically, but with one another and our wisdom of the Bible, and we grow in our calling, in our work, and what God has called us to do, when we grow in that and we join together, we will see lives change in a way that we cannot even begin to fathom. Because all of us working together as one, that is where we will make an impact. My talents, your strengths, her strengths, their strengths. Together, we will absolutely slay giants.